On this week's episode, Dr. Rob covers the importance of hip mobility and strength. Hi, I'm Brooke. I'm here with Dr. Rob this week talking about hip injury and hip mobility. So, Dr. Rob, typical injuries that we see in the office for hips, what would you typically see?
A typical injury, we're going to see a lot of people sit a lot with work and at their desk. So we see a lot of hip flexor tightness, and when the hip flexors are really tight, it'll tell the glutes to kind of turn off because you don't want to have a muscle kind of contract back a lot when you have a muscle that's tight here because you're just going to cause a muscle injury there.
So I guess we have the hip, but we have all the muscles that surround it. What does each do?
Hip flexor is going to flex your hip. Your adductors here are going to bring the leg closer to you. Some of your rotators, your abductors, are going to bring the leg away. We're going to extend the hip with the glute, things like that. So to just get really full ranges of motion.
So if I have weak hips, it's going to really cause these muscles not to fire, or
with weak hips, not only are we going to have like some hip issues, but a lot of times more commonly we will have a lot of low back problems because our hips really stabilize our pelvis. Mm-hmm. Our pelvis is what our spine sits on. So a problem there, we're just going to see problems that continue to go up the spine.
Okay, so as people age, it's super important to make sure we have strong, flexible, mobile hips.
And anytime we have a joint that's not moving the way that it should, we are more susceptible to degeneration. And hip problems in the elderly are extremely common. So we want to do as much as we can early to keep the hips mobile and strong.
You always hear about people falling, breaking a hip.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that comes from.
Problems.
So what do we do in the office for people who come in complaining of hip issues?
Hip issues, we would assess the joint first, kind of find where's the limitation of motion. Are we having a problem strictly in the joint? Is it a hip capsule issue? Is it one of the muscles surrounding the issue? Or surrounding the hip, I'm sorry. So it's just a matter of figuring out what's causing it and then what do we need to do to fix it at that point.
Okay, all right, and we're gonna do a hip assessment coming up, and
things.
Yep, and we're gonna do some hip mobility as well, which I'm sure will feel great.
It's gonna be fun.
Yep, all right.
Hi, I'm Rainey. Welcome to the Fitbit of the Week. This week we're talking about hip mobility, and one of the key important things about having great mobility through your hips is keeping the muscles that are surrounding your hips strong. So that's what I'm going to show you is 3 different exercises to keep those muscles strong. We're going to use this type of resistance band. It's a complete circle. You can get them online or in a sporting goods store, really wherever. This one is kind of heavy. The resistances will be different. So this one's kind of hard. It's very challenging. But what you're going to do is put both legs in the circle. So it's right about around your shins, like so. The first exercise we're going to do is just like a lateral walk. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to step as far as I can to the side, come together, and I'm going to do about 10 reps going one way, or as many as I can do, I guess. And then you want to make sure that you go the other way as well, and you're facing the same direction. So you're leading with the other leg. You're not turning around and facing the other way, because then you're going to be leading with the same leg. All right. So it's pretty simple. Not a lot to do with that one. The next one that we're going to do is called a monster walk. So for this one, you're going to be walking forward, but you're taking steps at an angle. So you're going to step kind of at an angle like that, step together. Again, taking as big a step that you can, like that. Pretty simple. And then the last exercise, I'm gonna walk over here. I'm gonna hold on to this for this one because I'm kind of gonna be balancing on one leg. What you're gonna do is you're gonna kick your leg forward at that angle that we kind of just we're walking in the monster walks. So you're gonna do your reps there. Then you're going to do your reps out to the side, like this. And then you're going to do your reps back at an angle this way, like that. But then again, you'd want to also obviously do it on the other side as well. So they're pretty simple movements, nothing too complicated. All you really need is a band like this. But it's very important, like everyone should know that even if you aren't having back problems or hip problems, this is something that's gonna be very important for your body in the long run, especially. I would recommend that you're doing, at least 10 reps of each, and then to make sure you're doing a few sets of them, because you really want to get those muscles strong and keep them strong. You may feel a burn through your hips, but that's a good thing. Yeah, that's all I have. So that's been this week's Fitbit, and we'll see you next time.
We're back. Dr. Rob is actually going to go over a hip assessment, or what would be a hip assessment if somebody were to come to the office complaining of any hip problems or hip issues. And then next we're actually going to do a hip rotation assessment. So what's the difference between that?
A lot of these I'm looking for a lot of like muscle imbalance kind of an issue, whereas with that one I'm looking at just like gross range of movement with rotation.
Okay, all right. So if someone were to come in complaining that it just hurts when they turn,
I'd probably end up doing that. Well, I would check everything, but
okay,
that would actually tell me more than some of these tests right now.
All right, cool. So what are we going to do?
So I'm going to have you on your back. Other back.
Oh.
Very good.
I'm so used to laying down right away. Okay.
So first thing, so I'm going to bring the leg up to here. Any problem with that?
Mm-mm.
Now, what about if I take, push there?
Tightness.
Okay, where do you feel it?
Hamstring.
Hamstring? Okay. Now, someone, if they're having a lot of problems in the hip rotators right here, the sciatic nerve can't slide across those muscles. So when I push on your foot, a lot of times initially they'll feel some hamstring stretch, but I push on the foot, they can feel the stretch all the way down to their calf. That's what tells me it's a nerve kind of adhering to a muscle.
No, I did feel it slightly behind
the knee. So yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit of a hip rotator. But let's check this one too. Do the same thing. I mean, because your hamstring range is good. How about that one?
Yeah, there's definite tightness on that side.
Okay. Now, next one, I'm going to bend the leg here. Good. We're just going to bring this up. Where do you feel that? Tension in the front.
Yep.
That can be a hip capsule issue or this muscle right back here. This is your adductor. We'll find a lot of problems with that if we can't get the knee flat against the chest pretty easily. Let's check this one too. Same thing. That one's a little tighter. Same spot you're touching?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So next, I'm going to have you actually flip over for me.
So for that one, are you looking for my knee to go all the way?
Essentially, I should have like your thigh pretty flat against the rib cage.
Okay,
For the
yeah,
most
that's
part.
definitely not happening.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm
Not
on
flip
this
over.
one. All right.
And with this one, we're really just looking at glute strength. So what we're going to want to do, I want you to keep this leg straight and bring it straight up towards the ceiling for me. Good. Back down. And the other side. Back down. Any problem with either of those?
I mean, there's a little bit of tightness going on back here, but...
You did that really well. Someone who is really weak, they're going to bring the leg to about there and they can't get it much higher. Or what you're going to see is when they raise the leg, their hip is going to actually rotate like this. So it's like they're using their hamstring and their back to really pull that up. So
that's probably due to like a mobility issue or...
Mobility issue, or it could be, so our hip flexors are really tight. So that's kind of, again, where we kind of shut off the glutes to just say, don't work this too hard or we're going to have an injury. So next one, going to have you sit at the edge of the table here. We're going to look at your hip flexor length. So I'll have you scoot even a little closer to the edge. Have you grab left leg for me? And then I'm just going to have you roll onto your back. Good. Now hers are pretty good right here. If her hip flexors are really tight, we would see the leg come up like this. So I'd have you sit back up. And let's do that same thing again. Other leg, perfect. Back down. That one a little tighter?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and with that one, that'd be something we could probably stretch out with you. So I'll have you come on up. And I guess next we'll go over to the gym and we'll do the hip rotation tests.
Okay. Now we're going to go over a hip rotational functional test. I guess what would prompt this again, Dr. Rob?
We would just want to check this because we want to see rotation on both sides, how we internally and externally rotate the hip. Really depending on what people's goals are and what they're trying to do, we might do a little bit more with this. We use this a lot with like golfers. Your power comes from your hips and your swing, so we want to make sure we're getting a lot of rotation there. But,
okay.
So what we'll do, I'm going to have your foot on this strip right here. Good. Bring this leg back. Just kind of be up on your toes. The majority of the weight should be here. And I want you to rotate towards me over here. That one feel okay?
Yep.
Okay, and let's go to the other side. We'll turn towards the hip. How about that one? That one feel okay? Or you feel a little tight?
I mean, no, it doesn't feel horrible.
Okay. But can you feel a difference? Like you can
Yeah.
rotate a lot more
Yeah.
to one side or the other? Okay, let's check the other side.
These are like easy tests that somebody could do at home to just check, yeah.
And the big thing you want to see is like, is one side versus the other, is it a lot easier to turn into it versus turning away from it?
Yeah, okay, so.
Let's do the same thing. Let's turn away first. Let's turn over here. There you go. And towards it, same thing. Seems a little easier, but again, you kind of hit that point where it's like,
Yeah.
they're not rotating
Feel
anymore.
tight, yeah.
So, I mean, it looks like just a restriction of the hip rotators, which we also found. It goes along with what we found in there, where we were pushing on the foot and kind of feeling that down into the leg a little bit more. So, we know those muscles are tight. So, things we could do, we can foam roll that. We can use a lacrosse ball. Did you want to do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, let's do some lacrosse ball and some foam rolling. Mobility exercises. We've been doing this a lot in our videos, but quite honestly, it's the easiest way
Easiest.
to
makes a
mobilize.
huge change for anyone with spinal pain.
Yeah.
So, the first one, let's say we're going to do your left hip. So I'd have you sit on the foam roll.
Okay.
This is where you cross your leg over, and that'll kind of open the hip up, and you can just kind of lean to that side and kind of roll all through there. And they're usually pretty sore. You'll know when you kind of hit the spot that you need to work on.
Yeah.
So, like we've said before, probably start with this one first. Once that you're not really getting as much of a stretch, then we can probably go to lacrosse ball and
Okay.
dig in a little bit deeper with that.
Yeah, if there's a pain point, stop there and then work on that spot for a little bit. All right.
All right. So, and then next we can do like a hip flexor stretch that we can do. So with your right was pretty tight when we were doing that. No, it was your left.
Left.
It was your left. So what we would do, we kind of be in a kneeling lunge stance. This is always hard to do in dress
So with my
pants.
left.
Yep, left
Okay.
knee's gonna be down. There you go. So we would have you lean forward a little bit. Then if you take this arm, put it over your head, and then kind of turn into it a little bit more, you'll really increase the amount of stretch. But then even if you can raise this leg right here, could just come back to normal. There we go. And if we raise that, and then did the same thing,
Oh, yeah.
we're gonna stretch that a lot more.
It hurts, but it feels really good.
And with all of these like stretches and foam roll and things like that, make sure you do both sides. Just keep everything loose and stretched out.
Okay, so mobilizing with a foam roller, we want to do this before we exercise or do any sort of physical activity, or can we do it
We can
after
do it before
too?
and after.
Okay.
So just keeping muscles loose, especially before you're putting any demand on them.
Okay, makes sense. All right, guys, that's all we have for this week. We will see you next time.
To submit a question, watch a past episode, or to find out more about the Springfield Wellness Center, check us out on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or find us on Instagram, or check out our show website at wellnesslab.tv.